There is a faith and a purity of faith about these people that it just leaves me awestruck.
Elder Holland visits West Africa and reflects on his journey there. Hear about the growth of the church among these saints and how their faith is changing lives.
I don't need to date the prettiest girl on the face of the planet. I need to feel a connection, both physically and emotionally and personally.
He's the Mormon bachelor, and he's looking to date. It's all part of a webisode that seeks to find companions for young adult Latter-day Saints. We'll tell you all about it, and then we'll talk with 4 singles about the challenges and triumphs that they face in the LDS dating scene. And a recently returned missionary is paralyzed in a tragic fall. Hear how others are reaching out to help her and how her positive outlook inspires others. Good morning and welcome to Mormon Times. The church in Africa is growing at an incredible rate. Missionaries are finding and teaching people who are full of faith and who are excited to hear about the gospel. Elder Jeffrey R. Holland visited the saints in West Africa earlier this year, and he took some time to reflect about his visit there.
These people do not believe that you have to have a lot of material goods to be happy. They seem to have been able to separate in their mind that those things, goods and acquisitions, don't have anything to do with being happy. It's an element of their faith that we would do well to copy and remember and teach. They're very happy people without much. Africa is one of those special places where you get to see the glory of the Lord, the wonder and the miracle of the restoration just quite literally unfold before your eyes. If you were to walk out onto a street corner and say, I want to talk to you about the gospel of Jesus Christ, you'd have 400 people gathered before you could finish the sentence. There aren't very many places that any of us can go back and see where the church has just begun and blossoms and happens before our eyes. Because they've had such a bloody, war-torn, brutal past, and I mean recent past, we're talking more or less a decade ago. They've seen what life ought not to be, and now with the missionaries and the members testifying, they've seen what it can be. President Benson always said, we don't so much take people out of poverty or take them out of difficult settings as much as we teach them the gospel and they take themselves. And that begins to be the answer to socio-political, economic challenges, far more than any institutional attack of the problem. It's the wonder of individual personal conversion. I bow my head in their presence. They've had so little, and they do so much with the gospel. Raising their children in the church, sending their sons and daughters on missions. There is a faith and a purity about these people that it just leaves me awestruck. It is very, very easy to love them. It's their uncompromised joy in the gospel. They've had so little. They've had so little in their lives of material goods. But when they got the gospel, they just embraced it hook, line, and sinker. I bow my head in their presence. Anything I can do to bring a little more of it to them, I'm happy to be here, and that's been the delight and joy of this trip.
Elder Holland said it's so easy to love the people of Africa that their faith and obedience set an example for all members of the church. You can read more about his trip to Africa on les.org. We'll have a direct link to those stories on our website at mormontimestv.ksl.com. As the world prepares to converge on London for the Summer Olympics, the church is preparing to host visitors at the iconic Hyde Park Chapel there. This chapel, which is located in central London, has been remodeled in preparation for the long-awaited Olympic Games, which will likely bring several guests to this visitor center. A new Facebook page has been created for the visitor center. The page includes pictures and updates and an extensive timeline with the history of the church in the region. You can check out the page at facebook.com/HydeParkVC. The Hyde Park Chapel Visitor Center is now open to the public from 9 in the morning till 9 p.m. daily. We all know that when an accident happens, life can change in an instant. After a fall, this returned missionary sister has been told she will never walk. Well, despite this tremendous trial, her great faith and reliance on the Lord inspires all who know her. We'll have her story coming up. And then get the inside scoop on the Mormon dating scene. We'll talk candidly with 4 young single adults about what works and what's broken. Every Sunday, we try to uplift and enlighten by sharing stories of people who are enduring life's challenges with courage. Tere Parra of Mexico recently returned from serving a full-time mission to Los Angeles. In February, she came to Utah to visit her sister. And while playing a game with a group of friends in Provo Canyon, Tere experienced a moment of impact that changed her life.
Tere fell from a tree. We're not sure how bad it is, but you need to come. When I came here, she was laying on her back right here, and that's where she stayed until they got her onto a backboard to get her to the helicopter. As we realized how serious things were, it was this awful moment of realization that her life was going to completely change.
If you prepared this for me, I'm gonna take it.
Hope sustains us through despair.
I never thought that was your plan for me.
Hope has the power to fill our lives with happiness.
She's joking around. The nurses love her. Everyone that comes in this room just ends up leaving laughing.
Every day that I come and I see her happy, it makes me happy, and I think to myself, I can get through this if she's happy.
As I watch her laughing through this hardship, it's incredible to me. I don't have that kind of strength.
I cry when anyone is around me. I feel comfort after praying.
Hope teaches that there is reason to rejoice even when all seems dark around us.
I want to overcome this.
What are you doing?
I hope to be independent.
Never give in, never surrender.
I hope that people keep visiting me and love me like always they do.
Never allow despair to overcome your spirit.
Enjoy this life. Get married someday. Have a family. I hope for it. Really hope.
For the love of the Son of God pierces all darkness, softens all sorrow, and gladdens every heart.
I just think that she's an amazing person, and she's going to be an influence for good for a lot of people.
There is hope in everything. And I can keep going.
Tere's friends in Provo have rallied to help raise the $200,000 in medical bills that she's facing. Yesterday in Provo, they held various events as part of the Be Tere's Legs fundraising effort. To learn more, go to mormontimestv.ksl.com. Well, the Mormon dating scene has changed dramatically over the years. For many, digital dating is now the norm. Social networking sites, LDS dating sites, even a webisode called The Mormon Bachelor have young adults looking for like-minded companions in less traditional locations. Up next, we'll talk with a panel of young single adults to get their take on all of this and find out how they work the dating scene in today's complex environment. Are LDS young single adults looking for love in all the right places? Well, one BYU student has taken his search online. His name is Chris Barber, but he may be better known to the masses as the Mormon Bachelor. It's a digital dating show for Mormons looking for eternal love, minus the hot tubs and racy scenes. Erin Elton and her friend Aubrey created the reality show 2 years ago when they were ages 30 and 28.
For us, it was a matter of meeting Mormon guys that were worthy and, wanting to get married in the temple. And so that's why we started the show, to kind of expand our horizon.
Aubrey was the first bachelorette and found her husband on the show. And this season, Kent Tuttle was the bachelor until he found love right before the show began and was replaced by his best friend, who'd helped choose Kent's dates.
We went back to our original group of 400 girls that applied to go on the show, and we found girls to take their place. So everything worked out really well. We have, 12 girls now, and they're all really excited about Chris, our new bachelor.
Well, I'm 26. I'm from Folsom, California. Dates have been really fun. The girls have put a lot of effort into them. They've been really, really fun, and I've grown to, really enjoy my time on this.
Yeah, it's all Mormon standards, and one of those standards is the law of chastity, so no sex before marriage, and that includes any funny business outside of that too.
But it was also kind of to get out there and also be an example of how to treat women with respect and with courtesy and with virtue, the way that all LDS singles should be. I'm just looking for somebody that can keep my attention. I really like to have intelligent conversations, but at the same time be kind of playful about it. It's a great opportunity to learn, and also just to kind of be an example for the church and an example for, LDS singles. Important thing to me in this life, above all other things, is going to be being a great husband and a great father. I think maybe I haven't gotten married because it hasn't been the number one priority for me. I'm guilty of this too. We kind of get in a rut, or we kind of get into a position where we feel comfortable, and we kind of put it into neutral instead of actually put it into drive.
Well, you might consider this extreme dating, very public with lots of pressure, but will it work? We'll have to wait and see. If you want to follow the Mormon Bachelor online, we'll provide a link to the website there at mormontimestv.ksl.com. So, does dating have to be this complicated? We invited a panel of 4 young single adults from Davis County to get their take. We have got Adrian Lewacki and Blair Wyatt, Brady Barrett, and Jameson Smith. Thanks for being willing to come here and talk pretty openly about this subject today. Referring to the Mormon Bachelor, is it okay to do dating, do you think, on social websites like that? Or do you prefer just sticking with your YSA Warden Institute to find someone to date?
I think it's okay. I think that as we get a little bit older, we're not in school, ways of meeting people gets a little bit harder. And I have tried online dating once or twice, and what I found was a lot of people who were just looking for that opportunity to branch out and do a little bit of networking and meet some new people.
Okay. What about the wide age span in young single adult wards? We're talking, you can go there if you're between 18 and 30. That's a 12-year difference there. What do you think? Is it hard to find people to date in those wards?
It's a good opportunity because there are a lot of people who are older who can meet older people, as well as a lot of graduates or a lot of younger people who can meet same people around their same age. So I find it's entertaining and interesting because you can meet so many different types of people. And
okay, so Elder Oaks has defined dating as planned ahead, paired off, and paid for. Is that really how it is? Are we actually doing dating in these young single adult wards, or are we just kind of hanging out?
I think we're doing a lot of hanging out. I think the majority of dating should be the way Elder Oaks said it should be. I don't think it has to be explicitly paid for and, you know, always planned as just couples pairing off and going off and doing things. I think we could get to know people a lot better in bigger situations,
Right.
like
Be friends first.
Yeah.
What about dating frustrations?
I think a dating frustration would be, I think we're motivated to date a lot of people, but I think also within one singles ward, when we find that we date a lot of people within a singles ward, we don't really find a good balance between getting to know someone really and just taking people out. And I think if I was to get asked, it's not very often that a girl asks me out, but
Can she? Is that okay?
Would you like that?
Yeah.
I think it's
awesome.
Just
I think it's
opened up.
cool.
It's okay.
I mean, that's sweet.
It's definitely okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just, yeah.
I don't know, I think it's a cultural influence type thing as well. I think it's different for American culture maybe than other.
And you grew up in New Zealand?
In New Zealand, and I think definitely not. Like in New Zealand, you definitely wouldn't.
So it depends where you are.
I think it depends where you are. But I don't know, like I think sometimes if a woman is forward and she says, would you like to go on a date with me? I think you take that away from them. Like I don't know, I was thinking about just how we have like our own roles that we play. And I think if a woman does that, then in some ways like she's disabling him. Like to be able to do something, like if he's going to be the provider of my family and and all these different things, I think maybe that's the beginning of it. Like he starts then when he when he asks you on a date.
And I wanted to ask you about the cultural pressure in Mormondom. Do we, because we're thinking about eternal companions, do you think that you judge every first date? Like you go on a first date and like, could they be someone I'm going to marry? I mean, is it putting too much pressure and kind of frustrating the whole dating process because you're not really looking at them as a friend maybe first?
I definitely worried about that. And for me, I would keep my walls up for a while just because I wanted to make sure it was someone that I was interested in before I showed any interest or too much interest. But then at the same time, like Brady thought I was bored to death the first couple dates that we went out. And so I think it's really hard to find that balance between judging and not, and you know, putting ourselves out there. It's hard.
Now you two are engaged, getting married right away.
Yeah.
When did you become a couple, or when is it okay to let people know you're a couple? Is that even a problem when in the dating game, so to speak?
We kind of dated, I mean, everyone knew we were dating kind of, you know, because we were in the same ward and so they saw us together, but I don't think it was really official until a couple months later when we had our first kiss, and then you know you start
that makes it official then, huh?
Okay. For me it was.
Okay, good to know.
That just showed that commitment.
Yeah.
As a single person, maybe who is not dating, how can you curb the loneliness and the frustration and the discouragement? Because not everyone is going out on a date every week.
I think you just gotta realize that's part of what dating is you get people you really like, you'll go on dates with people you necessarily don't like a lot, but you're there to get to know them also, and it can go both ways for boys and girls, but I think you just kind of have to realize that's what it is, and you just keep moving
Plug it
forward,
along.
Yep, because you'll find them.
What do you think?
Or if you're not dating, like some people don't go on dates, and that's like a reality. So I think if you're not going on dates, like get busy, because thinking about just being anxiously engaged in a good cause. I think there's so many things that we just sit back and think, oh, you have to wait until this comes to me, or I have to wait for this or wait for that, and we forget like that we're agents to act, and like we can just go out and find things to do and be like happy and fulfilled in our lives. So yeah, I think get busy.
Well, we appreciate you all for being here and opening our eyes to the dating scene for the young single adults in the church. Thanks for sharing with us today. Johannes Gutenberg's great invention paved the way for the printing of the Book of Mormon.
This is a page of a Bible that was written almost 800 years ago.
Up next, get an inside look at a local museum that's helping to keep this history alive. You've heard it said, God is in the details. And when it comes to the events leading up to the restoration of the gospel, those of the LDS faith believe nothing happened by chance, that the whole timeline was orchestrated by God himself. At the Crandall Historical Printing Museum in Provo, Utah, that timeline begins and ends with the printed word.
Early Bible translators painstakingly copied the scriptures by hand after Jesus Christ and his gospel were gone from the earth. John Wycliffe translated the Bible from Latin to English in the 1300s, and many of the reformers who followed were burned at the stake as they worked to get the holy book into the hands of the common man.
Something had to happen for there to be a restoration, and that something happened in a little town in Germany called Mainz.
That's where Johannes Gutenberg lived, a goldsmith and meddler who figured out how to mass-produce the Bible on a printing press almost identical to the one in this museum.
Something happened to him to inspire him to think that he could use his knowledge and skill in working with metal to make metal movable type.
Amazingly, Gutenberg discovered how to cast metal letters at exactly the same height, upside down and backwards, so they could be used over and over again to produce multiple pages. Not an easy task.
I'm a wimp.
And there's our impression. What you're looking at here is a replica of the Gutenberg Bible. Of the 180 or so that he printed, we know of quite a few that are still in existence in the world.
The Renaissance, or rebirth, continued around the year 1500 as another inspired man, Christopher Columbus, came to America. And through the efforts of our founding fathers, a great nation, a free nation, was born.
And that westward movement was most impacted, interestingly enough, in upstate New York by the printing of a book that brought tens of thousands westward, particularly settling here.
380 years after the Gutenberg Bible was produced in 1450, E.B. Grandin printed the first Book of Mormon in Palmyra, New York.
He had accepted an offer from Joseph Smith to print 5,000 Books of Mormon for $3,000.
Hiram Smith brought in the first several pages of manuscript, and the typesetter couldn't believe it.
There is no punctuation mark from beginning to end. And if you look at this, you'd see that there is not one period, comma, or anything within this.
All of the type had to be set letter by letter, and it only took about 7 months to print all 5,000 copies.
To this day, while we have a lot of our own personal ideas about how we think they accomplished that, no matter how we look at it, it was remarkable, and some may say miraculous.
The Crandall Historical Printing Museum is hands-on and one of the most complete printing museums anywhere. We'll have more information about this museum on our website at mormontimestv.ksl.com. Mitt Romney's presidential bid has generated unprecedented interest in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, prompting the media to dub this the Mormon moment. Last week, the church talked candidly on the network television program 2020 about the subject of heaven. Elder William R. Walker, a general authority who oversees the temple department, sat down with Barbara Walters at the Manhattan Temple site.
Do Mormons believe in heaven?
Oh, yes, we do, Barbara. We believe absolutely in heaven and believe that if God is our Father in heaven, like any father would, he would want his children to come home.
This is part of a 2-hour special titled Heaven. Where is it? How do we get there? The interview was groundbreaking and showcased the Mormon faith to millions of Americans through a mainstream television program. It also marks the first time that Walters has interviewed a Mormon about Mormonism. Well, thanks for joining us today on Mormon Times. Hope you have a wonderful day.